As the clock ticks down on Donald Trump's plan for peace between Russia and Ukraine, new details have emerged exposing a power struggle within the Trump cabinet, and one of Trump's key friends and allies has been outed as a Russian plant. You've heard of the Manchurian Candidate? Well, in case it wasn't already obvious, Trump is a Kremlin kook. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. And yes, I've been decorating for the holidays here in the studio. Just a reminder and an answer to those of you who have messaged and commented, the studio is a work in progress. The gay Magneto's presence here is only temporary. That's why I haven't hung him on the wall. And in the next couple of weeks, the set will be finalized and we will be having a big announcement. So make sure to subscribe right now if you haven't. Help us fight back against the lunatic Republican agenda. On to our story. In case you missed it, last week the Trump White House provided a peace plan to Ukraine, pressuring Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to accept it by Thanksgiving. Here's a rundown.
Tonight, as American and Ukrainian negotiators meet to talk peace, multiple Russian drone strikes on Kharkiv. This video circulating online comes as top Trump administration and Ukrainian officials say they've made productive and meaningful progress towards ending this war.
There's still some work to be done, but we are much further ahead today at this time than we were when we began this morning and where we were a week ago for certain.
The high-stakes meeting hurriedly taking place in Switzerland after the US abruptly pressured Ukraine to accept a 28-point peace plan that would have handed over even more Ukrainian land to the Russians and slashed its military in half. The Trump administration demanding a response before Thanksgiving. That plan sending shockwaves across Ukraine, Europe, and on Capitol Hill.
According to Secretary Rubio, is not the administration's position. It is essentially the wish list of the Russians.
But the State Department flatly denying the plan was a Russian wish list, insisting it was based on input from both sides.
So if this peace plan sounds more like a Russian wish list, there's a good reason why. Stay tuned. Multiple outlets have since revealed, subsequent to Trump's endorsement of the peace plan, that Steve Witkoff was the key American negotiator on the deal. That's striking since Witkoff is United States Special Envoy to the Middle East, not Europe. That's bizarre for two reasons. First, because Russia is not part of the Middle East, obviously. And second, because in the past, Witkoff has made comments like these.
What did you think of him?
I liked him.
Yep.
I thought he was straight up with me. Of course, by the way, I've said that. And you can imagine, by the way, I say that, I get pilloried. Oh, my gosh. You're actually saying.
There's a word called communication, which many people would say, I shouldn't have had because Putin is a bad guy. I don't regard Putin as a bad guy. That is a complicated situation, that war, and all the ingredients that led up to it. And it's never just one person, right? So I think we're gonna figure it out.
Sounds like somebody ready to take a hard line with Vladimir Putin, doesn't it? And if that's distressing, have we got a story for you? There's another reason why having Witkoff negotiate this deal is distressing. Peace plans like these usually fall under the purview of the Secretary of State. Now we've learned Secretary of State Marco Rubio wasn't involved in these negotiations at all. In fact, this plan has exposed a growing power struggle between Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance. And worse, that Steve Witkoff is a Russian lackey. Bloomberg News now reports that the chief negotiators on the plan were Steve Witkoff and his Russian counterpart, Kirill Dmitriev, and were conducted without input from Marco Rubio. Moreover, our European allies were horrified to learn that an aide to J.D. Vance, his close college buddy, U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, was also involved in the negotiations. And the Ukrainians weren't involved at all. Vance, of course, has expressed pro-Russian and isolationist views in the past, and he and his ilk are in the pocket of loony billionaire Peter Thiel. It's worth mentioning at this point that Steve Witkoff is a real estate mogul with some major investments in, you guessed it, Russia. The same article goes on to detail how Russia essentially wrote this peace deal with little to no pushback from Witkoff. Rubio didn't even know the negotiations were taking place until just before the deal was announced to the world. He has also been careful in his endorsement of it, noting that most of it came from, quote, the Russian side, close quote. Donald Trump, for his part, endorsed the plan and demanded Ukraine accept it by Thanksgiving. The same article goes on to expose the growing acrimony between J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, both widely seen as potential Trump successors, and presidential candidates in 2028. So, in other words, the two are already fighting over the nomination and offering some insight to their foreign policy views. Vance wants to capitulate to Russia, while Rubio maintains a more combative approach. And I ask you, beautiful viewers, how much safer would you feel with a J.D. Vance going toe-to-toe with Vladimir Putin? Look, the bottom line is this. This peace plan, if it can really be called that, is DOA. The Ukrainians will not accept it since they were not consulted, and furthermore, since the rest of our NATO allies in Europe also oppose it. Couple that with the behind-the-scenes pushback from Rubio, and it all looks doomed to fail, which will mean another huge blow to Donald Trump, who is desperate for a win following his recent election losses, his failures on the Epstein files, and his plummeting poll numbers. We'll keep you up to date on the ongoing peace talks between Ukraine, Russia, and NATO, and the United States as they engage in Switzerland this week. To stay up to date, remember to subscribe if you haven't. Help us fight back and keep the truth out there. Help us hit 2 million subscribers in the next month. This is Occupy Democrats.